Hi. Is it on? Perfect. Hi, Munich. How are you doing? Did you have a great day? Everyone? Did you learn anything new? Valuable insights? Great. That's perfect. Because that's why we are here, to get new insights, to get new inspiration, how to handle current problems better and to get value for our current situation. Today, I have the honor to introduce ThoughtSpot to you and to talk with Sven Ehmes about scalable self-service with AI-powered analytics. But first of all, a clunky title, right? I will explain to you what it means with ThoughtSpot and what value can ThoughtSpot bring to you with self-service. So, data and AI for everyone. This is a sales slide, right? I'm a technician. We don't talk about sales today. We talk about the facts, how ThoughtSpot is using AI and why a ThoughtSpot is using AI differently. You maybe see here that we are a leader in the Gartner BI quadrant or in the quadrant of the BI tools. And there's a really big difference between ThoughtSpot and the other tools there. And it's an architectural technical difference. And the goal of me today is that you understand the difference here, because ThoughtSpot was built 12 years ago with a search-centric approach. Like the developers of Google and Bing developed ThoughtSpot, that every user can use BI and can search in BI tools like in Google, that you only type in your keywords and will be translated into a visualization, and your end users understand what's behind that visualization, what's the filters, what's the data behind there. And with that architecture, with that search-centric architecture, that's the luck that AI is very happy to use search-centric tools, and that we only have to translate like the natural language from the users when they have questions into our token system with a search-centric approach, and then it will be translated into SQL. But what problem does it solve? I tell you a little story about a former job and what I did there, and why I would do it differently with ThoughtSpot. I was a data analyst in my job before, and I created like all of these beautiful dashboards. I created like these bar charts, and they were green and blue, and with red data labels, for example, and threshold values. And then I came to my customers or to my colleagues, and I showed them this dashboard, and they were really happy and said, okay, thank you, Marcel, for this beautiful dashboard, but please filter it to this customer, or please add another filter or make this bar blue, for example. And I was very happy to do that because it was my job, and these features weren't that complicated. But it was a huge backlog for me that it created, and I haven't had the chance to do all of the complex stuff that I wanted to do here. And ThoughtSpot is solving that approach with like the self-service. So we have a whole platform where you have your AI agent, where you can ask questions to, and you have the full transparency what was understood, and if it has hallucinations, that's the big differentiator here. And you have this whole dashboard platform, like this BI platform, where you can share your visualizations, where you can change the visualizations with natural language or with drill downs. And you have all of the functionalities that even your non-technical colleagues understand, that they can do all of the requests for a blue bar or for another filter by themselves. We introduced here our ThoughtSpot Intelligence platform. And today I will talk with you about the three topics here on the right, about our AI agents, about our AI augmented dashboards, and about Analyst Studio. For the other three topics, you have to go to our booth. We are there, and I can demo you everything that you want there, or you just talk with our colleagues at the back there when you go out to scan your badge there, and then we can arrange a demo. So, first of all, our autonomous AI agents. You see it here basically that you ask Spotter, it's a dog, Spotter the dog, the questions, and it will generate like visualizations. The big differentiator here is you don't see it very clearly here, but you have like the tokens, and the tokens are basically like Google keywords, and your end users can use them to understand what was filtered there in the data or what is in the data. Like here, the top 5 monthly states for sales, for example. It's very fast here. And then they can understand if it was hallucination there or if the visualization is right. So that's the enterprise-grade trust that we deliver here with Spotter. But what's the next step when you have your visualization there and you have the answer to your question? You can pin it to a dashboard or to a live board and basically run all of the features that we've built since 12 years in our platform. Change analysis with a click, an outlier analysis. You can drill down anywhere without the configuration of drill paths so that every end user can answer the easy questions by themselves. So the responsibility is away from the data team and the end users can be served and can answer their own questions. And our newest feature is Analyst Studio, because ThoughtSpot is connecting to cloud data warehouses, to live connections, but what if you need to wrangle your data, or you need to have extracts, or you want to run an SQL on that, or a Python script, for example, and change the data a little bit that it will be end-user friendly, then you can use now Analyst Studio to connect to any data source, even to on-premise data sources, to transform the data that it will be end-user friendly. So this is our newest feature that we close the gap here and also include like the traditional on-premise databases here for ThoughtSpot. But enough said here from me. Don't believe me here anything because I'm from ThoughtSpot, believe our happy customer. And yeah, the stage is yours, Sven.
Thank you, Marcel. Is it on? Yeah, good. My name is Sven Ehmes. I head up data and data science for Varian, which is the Siemens Healthineers Company. Does anyone here know what Varian does? One. That's a good sign. Normally people want to know what your company does. I'm happy if you guys don't. We do a lot of cancer care. So if you don't know, that's a good thing. I hope it stays that way. We basically take care of the whole cancer care curriculum from software to hardware. We develop it, we install it. I flew around the world, at least 8 times to install our accelerator, so I know what we talk about. I don't want to bore you with numbers, but we all know that cancer is a big topic, and data can play a pivotal role around that, right? So you see 2018, 80 million new cases, 2040, we're going to have 30 million new cases, right? I think we all are somehow impacted by that, but as I said, data can play a big role in multiple cases. One, on our product, but also on analyzing the problems, analyzing the business, understanding how we can get more efficient. That is why the mission actually has, and I just bolted it, that's the mission, I didn't make that up, that was our marketing department, but I bolted for you the important part, the power of data, right? So that's something that our marketing department came up and they included the data, I think, a few years back because they realized how important it is. Well, having a lot of data comes with problems. So I thought about, okay, what is the problem statement, right? If you talk about self-service. Okay, the first one is complex data ecosystems. I think we're all here to learn more about how we can make our data ecosystems easier, how we can empower people to have access to data, right? Sometimes it's silos, fragmented. We try to mash them together, all while we're most likely here try to learn more, right? So that's one thing. Getting access to data, right? You have different departments, everybody has its silo. Trust me, I know what it is. Working for Siemens Healthineers, 70,000 people, data is siloed. So how do you get it together to get access? The second thing is the technical expertise. A colleague of mine said, why do you say technical expertise? I just asked ChatGPT. I said, good luck, because it doesn't actually know all your tables. It doesn't know your information. It don't understand what you have in your databases. Unless you want to connect it to ChatGPT, and we all know, I think, data privacy. Any company here would tell you, no, you don't want to do that, right? So you need those technical expertise. Maybe writing an SQL query has become easier with large language models, but you still need the people to understand what is there. And then obviously, you need to maintain and build them out, right? You change the table name, you add new columns. All of those things means, okay, I need to change all of my queries. It's a lot of work. And the last thing is the inefficient tools, right? If you look Into bigger companies, most likely you have 8 or 9 different tools that you use for visualization. Some of them been ancient, been there most likely since I've joined the company 15 years ago, right? So, okay. Are they really efficient of what we're doing? Are they what you need today? I don't think so. So those are the 3 pillar points around problem statements that we have if we talk about self-service. That doesn't mean me as a data nerd can go and write a query or write a dashboard. It is about all of you or all of your peers can get the data that they need. So I came up with a scenario because I wanted to kind of, relate it to you. And I bet with you a lot of this will sound very familiar to you. Let's say you have new requests. And I bet with you a lot of you have BI developers in your teams or in your company. And they are different people, such as from business or engineering or manufacturing. They come to my BI developers and said, hey, I need that dashboard. The fun fact around this is, for example, the business person says, hey, I need the part quantities of parts you replaced, and I need the prices of them, because I need to understand how much money do we spend in our OpEx cost. Okay. Engineering comes with the same query and says, I need to have the quantities because I want to know what was replaced. It's the same data set, but a different need around it. The fun fact around it is they all actually ask for the same data sources. But it mostly be, if you do it today, 3 or 4 different dashboards for nearly the same use case that you have, the same data sets connected to it. Does it really need to be that way? I think Marcel showed you guys there are other options around that you can actually give people access to data, give them certain guardrails, and let them do it by themselves. And as Marcel said, if you want to see it, we're at the booth afterwards. Come and see us, talk us about it. The second thing is existing solutions. I think we all have dashboards in place, and one scenario that Marcel started to touch on was you have an original. Let's say I created a dashboard, again, about parts usage. Well, engineering comes and says, can you do an iteration for engineering? I need this, I need this, I need this filter. Marcel explained that he did that job for many years. Okay, you've done the one thing. Well, guess what? Business comes and says, okay, I like the original, but I need this filters and I need this other colors. Okay, you're already up to 3 versions, right? So now you have manufacturing said, I like the one that engineering did, but I need this and this other information. Okay, well, we're up to 4. And then executive manager says, I want to see a high-level overview of about everything, right? Okay, well. So at the end of the day, we're ending up with not just 1 dashboard, we're ending up with 5. And they all ask the same data sources. So what Marcel explained to you earlier, giving people access, letting them drill down, giving them some guardrails, actually reduces your amount of work that you need to do. Because you can empower people to drill down to their own data, create their own filters, create their own visualizations if they want to. So, what are the key takeaways that I want you guys to take away from it? Number 1, if you do something like this, make sure you do proper education. We all have a lot of data. Not just, so much data that it's hard to see what you have. So just giving them a tool set and said, hey, here, have fun, that will not work. You need to guide them, you need to handhold them, you need to kind of tell them what data you have. Yes, you say, like what Sven, you said before, it's going to be less work for me. Well, at the beginning, you need to develop the content for it. Doesn't mean you need to handhold everybody, but you need to develop the content. You need to make sure, and you can share the content. As I said, we're part of Siemens Healthineers. We don't actually develop the content. Our partners at Siemens Healthineers did. We just used it again. But somebody needs to create the content to actually educate people how to use the tool. ThoughtSpot has a lot of very good documentation as well, but again, you have your data sets. You need to explain what you have. The second thing is guardrails. Not everybody should have access to everything, right? I maybe shouldn't have access to financial data. More technical person, so, want to have technical data. Maybe, somebody has purely financial implications. He should have access to the financial data, but not to the engineering data. So it's important to set the guardrails to ensure that people have the domain what they need. And you can do that in ThoughtSpot, and you can have different data sets that you can have and assign to different roles, right? Again, if we give everybody everything, it's going to be madness. We all know that. And then also drive the governments. Again, I'm a big fan of, I don't let any people export anything. If they want to, they can do it in the platform, or they can come to my team. But for me, there's a guardrails that said, if you export to Excel, we all know what's going to happen, right? I see a lot of nodding. Yeah, that's what happens in a lot of companies. I export my data set, and then I do it. Well, why don't you do it in the tool directly? You have everything you need in there. Does it take you education? Yes. But if you get there, we all use the same tool set, and the data comes in and updates it automatically. That's the thing, that by the time that you export an Excel sheet, it's most likely the data is outdated. Right? And the last thing is measure value. That's something that is very, very important. If you say, hey, we want to do something like this, how do you create the value? Why is that more efficient? Is it because people have those dashboards faster? Because talents like Marcel don't need to kind of have it in their backlog, and you may be at position 10. You can get the answers in 5 minutes instead of a week or 2, depending on his workload. Or is it because it's say like, hey, with that information, I can actually find out more value for my company. But it's important to measure this. When we started with our data endeavor, we didn't, and it was challenging. Now, the first question that I ask somebody if he comes with a project, what is your value? If you wouldn't have that data, how would you make that decision? So for me, it's important if you start, think about that, what value are you bringing with that data that you collect? Thank you.
So,
do we have any questions in the room for Sven or Marcel?
Thank you, guys. Question to you. When it comes to the guardrails and governance on ThoughtSpot, guardrails are good, understandable, so people should not get access to data they don't need, but how they will find the data that they need if somehow it's behind the guardrails? What kind of options are there?
So basically, in ThoughtSpot, you define your data use case or your data model that could be created out of several tables in a star schema or something like that, and any data schema that you can think about as long as it's performant, and then they choose their use case, and then they ask the questions. And then ThoughtSpot will create in the background, or you define the background, their row-level security, column-level security, security groups, and stuff like that, but the end user doesn't see it. They just ask their HR agent, for example, and the people see then only the data they are allowed to in their HR agent. But other people from the HR department, for example, that are not end users, see more when they ask the same agent, because you configure the data security in the background.
So in this case, agent would reply, we could have answered you this question with the data we actually have, and there's such table maybe exists, but you're not allowed to. Please ask XYZ person to get this access.
It won't say it. If you are not allowed to ask questions to this agent, you won't see the agent in your list of agents. If you see the agent in your list, you have access to at least a little bit of data there, and you get the answer out of the amount of data that you have.
I see. Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe if I can add something to that. You also have a preview data tab. So as a business user, you can always preview the data that's available and actually ask your questions based on that. And if you see the data is not available, then you could go to someone and say, actually, I do not see that data. Why is that? Can we please add that? Can you give me access? Yeah, but we also have more questions in the room. Or you? Sorry. Luckily, we have some time.
That's good. We left some time for questions.
To the question before, just imagine that the user is not aware of that he has no access to all of the data and therefore receives an information that might be false due to the fact that he has not access to all of the data. Is that actually something, and I think that's why you asked, whether the consumer of the data is informed about that not all of the data that would be required to answer correctly is available?
That's a great question. Actually, with ThoughtSpot, you have like our token system where you exactly see what's filtered with the agent, what you get from the response. And that links perfectly to Sven's topic, because the educational topic, how do you interact with agents? How do you interact with AI? That's a whole new topic for a lot of users to get like enterprise security in AI. And that's an educational step that you have to take there. That you say, okay, maybe this data set is filtered. You can add descriptions, for example, to that, or inform the user with that, or just take it as an educational effort before, that the agent is aware of your department and only shows you the data available for your department there.
Speaking of education, because I think there's a learning curve, right? And during that learning curve, your role changes from building dashboards and hand-holding people to how to go through this, how to deal with these agents. Can you give us a bit of an experience how you went through this learning curve within your organization and how you helped teams to be, independent, utilizing?
So we're not through that whole story. Actually, Julie and myself working together on getting through that journey today. But that's something, the whole education part, we already kind of know that there is a lot of, as I said, the hand-holding is shifting, as you nicely said, from I need to build you the dashboard to I need to help you to understand how that goes, right? But what we learned is that the people are very excited around like, hey, I'm no longer dependent of you, which sometimes they get mad at me because they're dependent of the data teams because the backlog is long. So they're actually getting excited around that they can do this. So the learning curve there goes much faster because they want to learn it, because they want to kind of do something by themselves, right? So that's kind of where we see when we talk to people that said, yes, give me, let me try, right? And that's kind of where it's good, the excitement, and it's challenging at the same time because exactly what I said, you want them to do the right thing. You don't want just to, do data for the cause of data. So there's a lot of work. Again, we are very happy that our colleagues already created the content around like, okay, what are the basic rules? They took a lot of ThoughtSpot content and, put them into the normal education structure of Siemens Healthineers to give people also like, you can give them a set of trainings or like even they did some videos so that people can self-educate and then you can really help them at the second part, just go deeper into it as well. So it is a different transition, yes.
As Sven mentioned, right, we're in the very beginning, so Varian is a pretty new customer of ours, but still happy to work with them. So maybe I can give a bit more of context on how we usually drive adoption with other customers that we have. This is usually, yes, we do not start by implementing a technology like ThoughtSpot to the whole company, right, at once. Doesn't make sense. So first off, we create some demand from specific departments. So there's the demand, as Sven mentioned, right? People want self-service analytics. They want some kind of self-service capabilities. And actually, the way how to self-serve with ThoughtSpot is pretty easy. So as long as you know how to navigate through Google, you can also navigate through ThoughtSpot. But yes, I understand where the question is coming from. So what we usually do as well, yes, there are lots of online trainings. There are on-site trainings. But what we usually do as well, together with the customer success team, which is great as well, and my technical counterpart, Marcel's, we do usually so-called analytics days. So this is something that is just included in what we're offering, right? So we are planning analytics days where we visit you as a company. We plan that together with you, how to enable these business users. We will talk about like practical examples from other customers that we have, how they use it. Usually we talk about specific use cases and then we do hands-on sessions, right? Easy as that. People are sitting there, we do hands-on sessions where they learn how to navigate through ThoughtSpot. And that's the first step, how to enable business users. And then there's a huge customer success team behind that, to follow up on that.
And also on the value, if you ask that, like that's what we work together very closely. Like, how do we bring it on? Which use cases are important? How do we create the value? Because otherwise you're going to get the question, or I get a question from my boss. It's like, okay, why did we do this, right? So value, we work very closely. Like, okay, if we do this use case and there are more than enough ideas, like, everybody wants to wrangle the data by themselves. Nobody wants to be dependent. Right? It's more also, okay, does it really help to the business to make that?
Yeah, sure.
So hopefully this might be a game changer, let's say, in enabling business and the leaders, business leaders, also to access the analytics. And I know that in our company, for example, we are also developing the natural language interface for the country presidents to access easier the analytics, various use cases. But, 4 years, let's say, and for me it's now already 25 years since I started with business intelligence. So I think there was always kind of a promise with the new hype that, okay, the dashboards would enable you to drill down, the management would see it, would be able to work on themselves with these dashboards. Then there was a wave like, okay, maybe we would give it to the mobile devices, so maybe they will use it then. So even with this new technology, which is really great, I appreciate. But I think what is your view? I think it still cannot overcome the need to really understand the business and understand the data. So maybe, because I think this is still the most important point that is still on the stage, and that, okay, this is like a great new interface, which would be more intuitive and more, let's say, efficient, but still they need to understand, right, what they are looking at and what they want to see, etc. So I don't know if that's a question, but maybe the point of view.
No, that's a great point, because, and we only have a few seconds, I know it, so no problem. But the big differentiator here is we had like the search-centric system, and with these agents, we can train them inside of ThoughtSpot that they know your business language, usually. And that's very technical. I'm sorry if it's boring for other folks, but usually how we roll out a use case, we have like our power users, and we train the agent. They just give us 20 questions they have about their data set. And then we train the agent. We have a coaching system where we train the agent, okay, you have this question, and it tries to give you an answer. And if it's right, we have a baseline accuracy of 60 to 70%. That if it's right, perfect. If not, we show the agent, okay, this should be used, and these are the business terms of our department. And then the agent learns. And usually after these 20 questions, we have 80 to 90%. And I also have a customer that has like one data scientist there in the back, and he worked for 1 week, and we are at 99%. So you can train the agent that it knows your department. But it's a work. It's like a junior analyst, the ThoughtSpot agent, and you have to train him on your business knowledge. Otherwise, it's just the analyst that knows SQL but don't know your business knowledge. And that's a great point, because you have to train it. But we only had...
Yeah, can I turn your questions around? So in normal times now, you have the business people or the SMEs explain their needs to data people, right? So the translation was a human being, right, translating it. So now with the system, you're trying to give access so that actually the business user is trying to teach the system of what do I need, which they're actually the SME on the data. It's not always the data person that is actually the SME on the context of it. So turning this around is you actually have the business person, and what Marcel said, you can actually say, yes, that's actually the answer that I wanted, or no, you're actually helping training the system while you use it, to actually let the SME, which again is not the data person, train like, okay, this is what I wanted to know. No, this is not what I wanted to see. And then you can iterate, so it helps the system to learn. At the beginning, it might be not knowing all of the slang that you have is another thing, right? So we had for us, for example, is PCSN, serial number, PN, all of the different names, depending on the person you're going to ask, it's named the serial number of the machine. ThoughtSpot actually learns that and will give you the query around it, because it understands the slang of your company as well, which is for us was like, okay, finally, because otherwise if I said PN, but the actual database query had PCSN, the query didn't work, right? So the business user said, I don't know, it doesn't work, right? So that actually is giving that into the hands of the business user and empowering them to actually get the information out.
Good, thank you. And maybe a little cliffhanger at the end, right? If someone has a question regarding that or what they heard before, please feel free to visit these both at our booth in, I do not even know our booth number.
7.
In the back of...
7.
7, booth number 7. Yeah, the little cliffhanger that I want to give, especially when we talk about business context, right? We also do things like embedding analytics. So there is something called Bodylas Embed. So if you have a Confluence page or something like that, where you clarify specific business terms, right? You can embed our agentic AI into that. So you have one chat at the end where you can say something like, okay, what do we actually mean by spare part X, Y, Z in the Varian context? would explain this is the context of spare part XYZ. And then you have a specific data question. You can follow up on that in one agentic AI experience, but just as a cliffhanger. So thank you, Marcel. Thank you, Sven. And see you later, in the panel discussion.
Yep. Thank you.
Bye.